Well, good evening. Okay, come on, Worcester folks. I just saw this parade of incredible, generous people, and we've got the mayor and the city manager here who I would dare say this is the best place in the world to live. So, good evening. All right. Well, you all are really the commercial for what is considered to be an incredible community that cares about everyone who lives in this community, and you want to make sure that they have an opportunity to thrive. And that's what I saw on this stage this evening, and I want to applaud each and every one of you for being such a wonderful partner to my friend Tim Garvin and to the United Way that is here in Worcester, Central West, I should call it by the right name. But thank you all, and I applaud you. And I do have to say, I am leaving here tonight just admiring the twins. They are so cute. And I shouldn't probably say that because y'all are, grown at 15. But I'm just impressed, and I think that you all epitomize what it is to have next generation leaders waiting in the wings that we can pass the baton to and know that our future is in wonderful hands. And I want you to know that I believe that in you. So I'm going to be following them and see how this all turns out. It's an honor and a privilege to be a part of United Way Worldwide. And more importantly, it's an honor and a privilege to show up in communities to see what my United Way colleagues are doing, not alone, but in partnership with so many people. What I recognize is that it doesn't matter, as Tim just talked about, we have United Ways all over the world. It doesn't matter what the language that is spoken. It doesn't matter about the culture. What I see consistently is that we, United Way, work well in partnership with government, whether it's country level, whether it's state or regional level, or whether it's city level. We work well with other nonprofits. We work well with our corporate partners. And we work well with individuals that just want to raise their hand and say, what can I do? How can I volunteer either my time, my talent, or my treasure to make my community better? And there's nothing more important than doing this at this moment in time, at this moment in world's history where there's so much chaos swirling around us, that if we just take the time to focus on one person at a time, I truly believe that we will continue to make a difference and to make our communities thrive. So thank you for what you're doing day in and day out. And Tim, I'm hoping I can get one of these on this table too. I'm just saying. I hope that's the Tim is the. No, not better. I'll just take one of these. That's all I'm saying. Local makers made. That's awesome. So what I want to do is just, if I could, just share a few thoughts with you. As Tim said, I've been a part of United Way for a little over 2 years, almost 3. Prior to that, I was the national CEO for Easter Seals. And prior to that, I was the Chief Administration Officer and General Counsel at YMCA of the USA. So I love all of our nonprofit partners. I've been working alongside each and every one of you for quite a while now, and I know the tremendous effort that you're putting in to making sure that we build a future that is brighter for all. What I love about this organization is that we were at this critical juncture where we can really lean into transformation. And so one of the things that people always ask me when I first started with the organization is, what's your vision? Now, I hate that question, but they ask you that your second day on the job. It's like, well, I sort of have a vision, but can I really lean into learning the organization so I can get a feel for the spirit of the organization? And so as I began to do that, I started by looking at the 5 founders of the organization in Denver, Colorado: a Jewish woman, a Catholic priest, a Jewish rabbi, and 2 Protestant pastors. That's not the beginning of a bad joke. It's the beginning of United Way, which started off as the community chest. And it was those 5 folks that looked at what was happening in Denver: immigration, poverty, maternal health issues. And they said there are people in our community that have means, and that if we just ask them to give to the community chest, we can then help those that are in need. That is also that place on the Monopoly game community chest. That's us. We're not getting royalties, unfortunately, but that's us. And so fast forward 137 years later, when people ask me now, what is the vision for United Way? I talk about creating a world or a community in which every person can thrive. And so where I used to think about United Way in my early days on the job and talking about it and getting on the first floor of the elevator and thinking I need about 70 floors to really tell all about United Way. But if I now just get on and can say creating a world and a community in which every person can thrive, that about hits what you all are doing with the nail on the head. And so when I think about that, I hearken back to how I grew up. I'm a preacher's kid. So growing up in church, and then my dad joining the military as a Navy chaplain, growing up on military bases, and deciding that I was going to raise my hand and serve on active duty as a lawyer for 6.5 years. There were these values that were instilled in me about caring about your neighbor, loving your neighbor as you love yourself, making sure that you have an open door or a hand extended, that if someone is in need, you don't walk by them, but you say, how can I serve you? How can I help you? What do you need? Giving someone else the cloak off of my back so that they can stay warm, knowing that in the giving, I am going to receive. And that's how I grew up. And that ethic of service still is with me today. And that's what inspires me to wake up every morning to say, not that I just like my job, but I love my job. And why? Because I'm yoked with people like you that do the same, that think the same. No matter what your job title is, you have a heart for service. And that's incredibly inspiring. And so what I want to say to you all, and make sure that you understand, is that as Tim said, we have 1,100 local United Ways operating in 37 countries. So I love being in Worcester. I love Central Mass. Hey, I used to work for Senator Ted Kennedy. I love that man. So you got to love Massachusetts, right? Right? Okay, I'm just saying. And so then when you ladder up that we're part of a global network, there's power in that. And I want you to remember that even though you may be focused here in the surrounding areas, that what you're doing is laddering up to a network of people that are doing the exact same thing in their communities. And I want to just share just 2 examples, just because I think it's important for you all to see yourselves reflected elsewhere because of your heart for service. When the Ukrainian war kicked off on that day, our United Way colleagues in Hungary immediately jumped in their United Way van and crossed the border from Hungary into Ukraine. And they began to help the mothers. It was primarily mothers and children that were fleeing, some of them on foot, some of them in vehicles. And our CEO there said she ran into a mother that was panicking And the mother said she had forgot to bring her insulin. And Kendra had in her own purse her own insulin. And she gave it to that Ukrainian refugee mom. And then as the mothers kept coming across the border, the mothers were telling their children, we're going away on vacation. And the mothers really kept themselves together because they didn't want to panic the children. As soon as they came across the border, the United Way staff and our fellow partners, other nonprofits, were there to greet the mothers with a hug. We had stand-up playgrounds for the children. And then when our staff would play with the children, they would take the mothers back. We had psychologists, social workers, and helpers. The mothers would just break down in tears because they had to keep that strong face going. And then it was, how can we help you and where do you need to go? That's United Way. I'll give you another quick example. In Ghana, in an African village outside of Accra, the capital, in the village, I went there on a day, it was over 100 degrees. I met with the chief and the elders of the village under like a thatch roof, goats and chickens running everywhere, red dirt, and followed protocol where the drummers that you saw had to lead me to the hut where the chief was, and I couldn't get out of the car until the drummers preceded me. And then we sat down, and the chief doesn't talk to you directly. He has a speaker that he'll lean over, whisper, and then the speaker will talk to you. And I was like, eventually this chief gonna have to talk to me. But, that's my American way of thinking. But what the chief said was, I like United Way. And you want to know why? You're the only nonprofit where your people don't just come and dump products and goods in our village and walk away. Your people come back and see us every week. And that's the difference. And then he said, a lot of the young men have left the village. A lot of them were starting to be hooked on drugs. And so that left women and young girls in the village and young children. And so with $14,000, United Way did a social entrepreneurship and built 3 businesses for the women: a bakery, a soap manufacturing business, and a bead manufacturing business. First of all, they gave me a gift of the bread, and I got gifts of beads too, but the bread, I could not wait to get. That was the best bread I have ever tasted in my life. Those women at that bakery, a certified bakery, have now taught women how to launch a bakery business in neighboring villages, and so far trained 500 other women. That's United Way. And so I'm really grateful to be a part of you all. You all are a community. You all are a family. And I just want you to know that me and my colleagues will do our very best to represent you well and to ensure that you all continue to thrive. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Have a history. Stand up. Stay here. Stay up. Thank you. Thank you. So earlier today, as I mentioned earlier, Angela met with all the United Ways in Massachusetts, and we met in our at 18 Chestnut Street in the Paul Revere building. And I always do. I gave a quick shout out to how Worcester is great. The smiley face, the rocket engine, the triple decker. We've done it all. Everything has begun and ends in Worcester. And we love our city. And our city is collaborative and it's compassionate, and I've never been in any place like it. So we had a beautiful, this is from the American architect. It's a picture of Union Station, vintage picture. You have 1,000 things, but we want you to remember and know that your heart is here and that it all starts from here and goes around the world.
Wow. Thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you all. Thank you.